Hi, I'm Jacqueline.
And I'm Courtney, and this is Caffeinated Crimes.
It sure is, Courtney.
It sure is. That is a fact. Don't worry, guys. I put a note in our notes to make sure I remembered the banter I thought of last week because I knew I'd
Last
forget.
week. Wow, that's
Last week. It
impressive.
wasn't even this week. It was last week. But it
Playing the
had to,
long game. I respect it. Okay.
yes, because I was like, this has to be on the podcast. I was like, I could text Jacqueline, but I'm gonna say it on the podcast because it's true
Mhm.
crime adjacent. So if you're mad at us because we talked too much at the beginning, oh well. But this
There are
one's
other
at least a little
podcasts
relevant.
you could listen to that don't do that, so you can
You
find
can
plenty out there.
also skip
Yes.
15 seconds, 15 seconds, 15 seconds. Anyway, so as everyone knows, I am on, not everyone, but I have been on a reality TV kick, basically.
Hmm.
It all started with Scandival. I watched Vanderpump Rules, and then I've just been like picking random reality TV shows to like watch the backlog of, basically.
Hmm.
So right now I'm watching Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And I kept seeing this woman, like who's like not, she's not like a housewife, but she's like a friend of a housewife. So she'll like
Hmm.
randomly pop up in scenes. And I'm like, this woman is so familiar. Why does she look so familiar? And then I heard them call her Faye, and I went, this is fucking Faye Resnick from the O.J. Simpson trials, who was best friends with
Oh,
Nicole Brown.
oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So she was
That
best
is
friends with
crazy.
like Nicole Brown. She wrote the
Yes.
book.
Yep.
She like
Yep. Yep.
testified, all of that.
At first, I was like,
And
who
I
the
was
fuck is
like,
that? And then I'm like, okay, okay, I got you now.
yes, because I was like, she looks so familiar. I was like, her
Wow.
face just so
Yeah.
familiar. And then yeah, I heard it's like Paris Hilton's like aunts are on it.
Hmm.
And like she's friends with Faye Resnick. I don't know. They were hanging out together, but she called her Faye, and I was like, Faye.
Interesting.
And I was like, is this fucking Faye Resnick? Look at
I'm
her.
impressed that you made that connection.
I also have consumed a lot about the O.J. Simpson trials.
That is true. That is true.
So
Which,
I consumed a lot.
yeah, yeah. Which, speaking of, Marsha Clark is going to be at CrimeCon next month.
Oh, I'm so excited.
So that should be very interesting.
Yes, yes, I can't wait to see what she has to say. I do feel like I hear that she doesn't really talk about the O.J. Simpson trial anymore. She's like, I'm done, which I
Yeah.
understand and I respect because
Yeah. Yeah.
I
When I
get
told
that.
Andrew that she was going to be there, and he was like, why? She lost. Like, what is she? I
That
was like,
wasn't
well,
the
she
only
has.
thing that happened in her
Exactly.
life.
I was like, she has done other things, like
Yeah,
obviously that is what she is most famous for or infamous for, but she did do other
yeah,
things also.
yeah.
But
But
yeah,
yeah, if you wanna somehow connect your reality TV to true crime,
there are plenty of ways to do
there you
it.
go. It's also great. There's a lot of like true crime things in like the Real Housewives franchises because Real
Hmm.
Housewives of Salt Lake City, Jen Shaw got arrested basically on camera for fraud, and she's currently in prison.
Oh
So, and also
gosh.
the other Real Housewives of Potomac, one of the women is currently in prison for a DUI. So,
So they do got a lot of true crime things going on over there
yeah,
then.
I feel like every franchise has, I guess, at least one who's been in jail for something.
Yeah. I mean there has to be. I mean it's like any,
It's
group of
rich
friends.
people.
At least one person's
Yeah.
been to jail, right? I was like, I don't have any friends, but I got a few family members. So
I know. I have a cousin, but I don't really talk to her. Well, I don't talk. I think all three of my cousins have been in jail, but I don't really talk to them. I was trying to think in the friend group. I'm like, who's been to jail?
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, probably not in the friend group, but
um,
definitely family members.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But that was that. I also have a funny Kevin story if you want it.
Of course.
And it's basically just about how Kevin doesn't know how to read the room. Um,
Kevin doesn't know how to read. I've been trying to teach him at night. We're doing hooked on
yeah,
phonics. It's
we're doing
great.
somebody's. No, he doesn't know how to read the room. So there was one day I was a wee bit buzzed, and I said, I will watch a movie with you, but it has to be a comedy. So he looked for the comedy, couldn't find it, puts on Click, which ended up being a very
That,
sad movie.
yeah, that is not a comedy.
I was sobbing, and he goes, "Oh, I guess I was wrong on this." So that's not the only instance in the past couple months where this happens. So we watched District 9. Have you heard of it at all?
No.
Okay, so it's kind of like It's about like aliens coming to Earth and they put them in this like one district and then they're kind of it's supposed to obviously be a metaphor towards like undocumented immigrants and stuff and how
Hmm.
they treat people, whatever.
Yeah.
So I was feeling extremely nauseous from an antibiotic I was on. I was Sunday, I was down for the count because I was nauseous all day long. And he puts on District 9, which has a lot of surgery scenes, a lot of fingernails falling off. Um, I had to close my eyes multiple times because I was like, this is going to lead me to vomiting.
You're like, this is not what I
When
intended
you're already
on.
nauseous and you see a man pick off his fingernail,
Kevin.
yeah. And then it was also a bunch of surgery and stuff. And I was like, Kevin,
Hmm.
it's too soon.
You're like,
Like, what are
no
you doing? And
thanks.
he was like, it's been a while since I watched this movie. That was like the Book of Eli. He was like, this is a great movie. And he watched it and he was like, I didn't know this was so biblical. I'm like, it's called the Book of Eli.
So what I'm hearing though is that Kevin remembers nothing about the movies that he watches.
No,
He'll
and
finish
this
it
is
and be like, do not remember a single plot
he'll be
line, not a
like, that
single
was a great
scene.
movie. It's the same thing we do when we read books. We're like, this was a 5-star read. What's it about? That's a great question.
Yeah, yeah, that is a good analogy. That
Yeah.
is a good point.
Yeah, but it's like every week at trivia, like he has, because his dad watches all these movies. So he's watched all these movies. And then it'll be like, who's the actor in these three movies? And he's like, oh, I know it. And we're like, hell yeah. And he's like, I don't know his name. And I'm like,
He's
okay,
like, I can
describe him.
picture him.
I was like, describe him. Okay, he's a white guy. Okay. About in his 50s. Okay. He was in a bunch of films in the 90s. Kevin. It's
Nope,
every white man in
nope.
Hollywood.
Right.
Every white man in
He,
Hollywood.
he was
So,
almost there though. Very proud of
yeah.
him. He
There's
was
so many
almost there.
times that like he cannot come up with a name.
Hmm.
It's said, and he's like, yep, that's it.
Yep.
That's the name. So it's always a fun time. But
Yes. Yes.
those are my bantery things. Do you have anything? Got none?
No, I got nothing. I'm just surviving over here, so,
Yeah.
just got nothing.
I mean, I had to write one down and one just happened 2 days ago. That's the only reason I got it.
Well, speaking of how on top of it we are, this was a recommendation probably about 3 years ago, if I remember
I
correctly.
didn't remember we had a recommendation.
I've had it in my list. I like noted like who made the recommendation so we could make sure and acknowledge when we did it. So they probably do not even listen anymore. But it was at Junior Pink 1021 on YouTube. So if you are still here listening, thank you for this recommendation. So sorry it took a while, but we got here eventually.
We're
So
here.
so the sources for this episode, Morbid did an episode on this. It was episode 556, and they did link all of their articles like in their show notes. So I was able to kind of dig deeper into those to kind of verify, everything they talked about there. Quite a few Press Democrat articles, an article from the San Francisco Chronicle. There's also a website called Santa Rosa hitchhikemurders.com. And so they kind of go into
It's Hitchhiker murders.
it is. Okay.
It's okay. It's fine. We'll put it
Santa,
in the show notes.
yes, yes. Santa Rosa hitchhikermurders.com. So they kind of, I don't know who created this, but they talk about all the different murders, but they do have a really cool page with like links to like all the newspaper paper articles about these murders. And some of them are just like single paragraphs and not, basically everything that they could find out there, and they're just kind of like photocopies of like the original
Hmm.
newspaper article. So but it's pretty cool to
That's
kind of
nice.
have it all in one place, so do
Hmm.
recommend that site as well. I also learned during this episode that I cannot spell hitchhiker. I mess it up every single time. I don't know what I get confused in there, but
Yeah, that was if you're a Patreon, last month we did the history of the guillotine. Such a struggle
yeah.
to spell guillotine. It's too many vowels.
And I feel like hitchhiker is much easier than guillotine. I should be able to
There's too many H's.
yeah, I think that's what it is. And I would like, I don't know. It just,
Yeah, there was what other word did I say I couldn't spell? It was one I did in an episode recently. What was it? It was a word similar where it had
I
like a lot of
remember,
repeating
hmm
letters. Don't know.
I don't know. We'll come back around to it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, at least 10 young women were murdered and left at the bottom of embankments near Santa Rosa, California in the 1970s. Many of the victims were last seen hitchhiking or were known to hitchhike, so many suspect that was an easy way for this killer to find victims. Because of the similarities in their deaths, it is believed the serial killer or killers committed these murders, known as the Santa Rosa hitchhiker murders, and they do remain unsolved today. So on February 4th, 1972, 12-year-old Maureen Sterling and her friend 13-year-old Yvonne Weber were dropped off at the Redwood Empire Ice Arena in Santa Rosa, California around 7:30 p.m. So their moms dropped them off and planned for them to skate for a few hours and then they were going to come back and pick them up. However, when their moms returned around 11 p.m. to pick them up, they had disappeared. So a friend reported seeing the two girls getting into a car near the ice rink around 9 p.m. Investigators did believe they were runaways, and there were no clues about their disappearance for more than a year. So just literally nothing, just vanished. So, a month after Maureen and Yvonne vanished, on March 4th, 19-year-old Kim Allen was heading to class at the Santa Rosa Junior College after leaving her shift at Larkspur Natural Foods, which was a small grocery store outside San Rafael. So, Kim was majoring in art. The commute between her job and school was about 45 minutes, and Kim planned to hitchhike as she often did. So around 5 p.m., she caught a ride with two men, but they were only going a few miles down the road and not all the way to Santa Rosa, so they drove her as far as they could and then dropped her off at the San Rafael exit at Highway 101. They did see her continue hitchhiking on towards Santa Rosa. The next day, two high school students were taking a shortcut near where Kim had last been seen, and they found her naked body at the bottom of a steep embankment. A wire around her neck appeared to be the cause of death, and the coroner thought the marks on her body indicated that the cord had been tightened slowly, so a very long and horrific death. He believed it took her at least a half hour to die, like just being strangled for
Yeah.
half an hour. There were also wire or rope burn marks around her wrist and ankles and a minor injury to her collarbone. There was evidence of a sexual assault, and semen was found on her body as well as some oily substance. The oily substance was commonly used as a lubricant in machine shops, so they didn't know if that could be some kind of clue. A single gold earring was also found, and its match was never located. At the top of the embankment, there was an impression in the soil about a foot long and 14 inches deep, and investigators think maybe the killer slipped and fell while dumping Kim's body, so it was kind of like a sliding footprint going down the
Mm-hmm.
hill. On March 9th, Kim's roommates made a tentative identification, which was confirmed a few hours later by Kim's sister. When she was last seen, Kim was wearing a beige coat and an orange aluminum frame backpack, but neither of those items were found with her body. And investigators really didn't have many leads to pursue. I mean, she was found naked. She didn't have any of her items. There was semen found on her body, but this is the 70s, so
Yeah. I don't probably then wasn't like the only testing for semen was like they have a vasectomy, they don't have a vasectomy, or like secretor versus non-secretor or something
yeah.
like something that
Yeah.
was like so vague that it's like, oh, we might eliminate a third of the population. Like,
Exactly. Yeah. Like I think at that point it was more of like, okay, if we have a suspect, we can use this to kind of, okay, could it possibly be him or not? But again, it's
mm-hmm.
not like identifying someone. It's just like a
Yeah.
small piece of the
They're
puzzle.
not like extracting DNA
Hmm.
from.
Yeah. So 3 weeks later, someone left Kim's checkbook in a mailbox in Kentfield, which was about 50 miles away from where her body was found. But from what I found, nothing ever came of this checkbook. So very odd. Kentfield does not come back up. Just a very interesting little tidbit
Strange.
there. So, investigators looked into Robert Bouchon as a potential suspect in Kim's murder. He had been arrested for kidnapping and assaulting a hitchhiker around the same time. He bound her and held her at knife point and then took her back to his apartment where he forced her to spend the night. She escaped the next morning and called police, which is when he was arrested. So he was tried and convicted for that kidnapping, but was found to not be responsible for Kim's murder. Kim's family was obviously heartbroken, and her family and friends had previously tried to warn her against hitchhiking. Like they had told her it was dangerous, like we really don't like that you're doing this, like please don't. So just extra heartbreaking that this happened to her and they feel like it didn't have to. On April 25th, just after 9 a.m., Jeanette Kamahili left her home in Katati and told her roommate she was going to class. She was also a student at Santa Rosa Junior College, which is interesting. So that day, she never arrived for her class and then also did not return back home later. So her roommate was concerned because she's like, Jeanette would always communicate where she was going and like she's not the kind of person who would just run away. So her roommate called the sheriff's office to report her missing when she still hadn't returned home by midnight. Another friend called the sheriff's office a few days later and said the day Jeanette disappeared, he saw her hitchhiking on the off ramp from Highway 101 close to where Kim was last seen. He was about to stop and offer her a ride, but the car in front of him stopped and Jeanette got in. So he described the car as a 1950s pickup with a homemade wooden camper, and he described the driver as a white man in his 20s or 30s. So at this point, obviously, hitchhiking is very common. So he's like, oh, yeah, like I was going to give her a ride, but then someone else did. Like you don't
Hmm.
really think anything of it at the time, you know? Jeanette's remains have never been found, but due to the circumstances surrounding her disappearance, she is believed to be dead and to be a victim of the Santa Rosa hitchhiker murderer. And her case quickly went cold with no leads. On December 14th, 1972, a couple walking their dog found the nude body of a teenage girl at the bottom of a steep embankment, again, on a road at the edge of Santa Rosa. So, no personal items were found with her, and her only distinguishing feature was chipped red nail polish. Her body was frozen, and the coroner estimated that she had been there a week or two, but it was difficult to determine exactly because of the weather conditions. So dental records were able to help identify the body as belonging to 13-year-old Lori Cursa. So Lori had run away from home on November 11th and was last seen hitchhiking in the Santa Rosa area around November 20th or 21st. And her cause of death was determined to be a dislocation of vertebrae near her neck and compression of her spinal cord due to trauma, which sounds extremely severe. Like, that's horrific.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal.
Yeah. There were no signs of sexual assault, and investigators wondered if Lori had jumped or fell over the embankment because of the nature of her injury. So they're like, this like doesn't seem as like caused by man as some of the others. Like this seems like a more brutal kind of fall,
Hmm.
maybe. So Lori was described as her friends as having a quote chaotic home life. They said she frequently ran away, she would hitchhike, like there was just a lot going on, so it was normal for her to kind of leave. So, with no leads, the sheriff's office turned to the public for help, and a local newspaper offered a reward of $500. So, one caller reported seeing a white van with an off-colored door between December 3rd and 9th in the area near where Lori's body was found. So, the caller was on his way home from work and noticed the van on the side of the road with a white man behind the wheel. He saw two other men walking on either side of a young girl, kind of like holding her up and like leading the way. And they seemed to be kind of like hurrying her and then like pushed her inside of the van, which I'm like, did you not report this prior to finding out that there was something suspicious going on? Like that
Yeah.
alone wasn't suspicious?
Yeah, I wonder if it's one of those things where, you never go worst case scenario. So you're
Yeah.
like, is this, like a kid jumping out of the car and you're like, get back in the car or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you're not trying to be, and then you hear this and you're like, was that actually bad? Was it
Yeah.
actually nefarious?
Right.
Like,
Because it's like, oh, maybe she is like, like your friends and like she had too much to drink and you're like, come on, get in the car.
yeah,
Like,
get in the car.
yeah,
Or she had run away and you're like, girl, get back in the car. We're going home. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
So, other witnesses claim to see Lori with a bushy-haired white man sitting in a truck near where her body was found. And investigators believe that Lori may have been kidnapped and stripped naked in the van, but maybe she was able to escape before she was sexually assaulted. And they're wondering if maybe she like jumped from the moving van, which could explain her injuries. So they're like, we don't think that it was an accidental death as far as like believing that maybe she fell down the embankment. It's like we think
Hmm.
based on these stories and everything else, like we think she was kidnapped and then like as they were planning to sexually assault her, she was able to get out and then maybe had this tragic death.
Yeah.
So, on December 26th, one day after the press announced the reward, two Santa Rosa teenagers noticed two sets of skeletal remains at the foot of an embankment about 60 feet from the road. So, decomposition made identification difficult, but the body was naked and had no personal items except for one earring, a set of orange beads, and a gold cross necklace. So, dental records were able to identify the bodies of Maureen Sterling and Yvonne Weber, who went missing almost a year before. Someone also recognized the jewelry that Maureen had been wearing, and they were able to use that to identify her as well. Their bodies were too decayed to determine a cause of death, and although there was no like proof of homicide, their deaths were treated as a homicide investigation. I mean, I feel like it's pretty likely,
Hmm.
at that point. Both girls were known to hitchhike, and again, they had been seen getting into a car near the ice rink the night they disappeared, so many believe that they were a victim of this murder as well.
So detectives gathered leads from when the girls went missing and talked to their friends, and they polygraphed four teenagers, but they passed and were no longer considered suspects. Because of the similarity in the deaths of now five young girls and the way their bodies were found, investigators believe there was a serial killer in the area. One friend reported that Maureen and Yvonne met a man from Rushing River, which was about an hour away, and they thought maybe they might have hitchhiked a ride to go meet him, but police weren't able to confirm that this man like existed. So it's like, did this happen or it's just something like a theory that they thought that couldn't be corroborated. So there were a lot of calls and tips, but none of them led to anything substantial, and most of the tips were just rumors that had been circulating among the middle and high school students. And in March, the murders of college girls in Northern California drew police resources and media attention away from the hitchhiker murders. Edmund Kemper was eventually arrested for the murders of these women. We know with Ed Kemper, it was a very big thing going on, so a lot of attention and resources were going to this. And on July 31st, a dirt bike rider discovered a naked body only 4 feet from where Maureen and Yvonne had been. So the brush and soil leading down the embankment didn't appear to be disturbed, so they believed the body had been thrown over the embankment either by a large man or two men. The autopsy estimated the time of death to be around mid-July, but because of the exposure to the elements, they couldn't determine if she'd been sexually assaulted. The only physical trauma to her body was a wound on her right ear, like someone had tried to pierce her ear, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, her cause of death was determined to be strychnine poisoning, which is strange because you can't tell if she was sexually assaulted, but you have enough to know she was poisoned.
I mean, I guess with like, because sexual assaults, like you can't always know for sure,
Yeah.
if it was,
I was just thinking since it was like exposure to the elements that it would be
yeah.
so decayed that there was no like this is very graphic, but like tissue left
Hmm.
more so, but maybe
I mean, it's strychnine. I just wonder if there could like if you can test for it in the bones somehow. I don't know how that would work, but like, is
I
it
don't
something
know.
that could like I don't know. I don't know a
I'm
whole
not
lot
sure.
about strychnine poisoning. I just thought it
I
was
don't
very
either.
interesting that like the causes of death are different,
So
like there's
different.
not
Yeah.
like a an MO
I also
here.
wonder like the wound to her ear, like someone had tried to pierce it. Like is that where they stabbed her with strychnine? Like did they
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
very interesting.
I think the ear comes up too because like there are several like single earrings found. So people are like, oh, like did this person like have some kind of like earring
Yeah,
fixation,
like kind of fetish thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Or it could just be a coincidence that people have kind of latched onto because of the other
Yeah.
earrings. So it's like it kind of stood out where maybe it would not have earlier. I
Yeah,
mean,
like
maybe
it
she tried
could
to pierce
be
her
a
own
red
ear
herring.
earlier.
Yeah, like it could be a red herring, like,
Yeah.
or, it could be something more significant. We don't really know.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks later, the body was identified as 15-year-old runaway named Carolyn Davis. She was from Anderson, which is about 200 miles north of Santa Rosa. In early February, Carolyn left for school but never arrived, and her parents found a note that she left them that said, quote, "Don't worry too much about me. The only thing I'm going to do is keeping myself alive." She lived with her sister and then her grandmother for a while, but in mid-July, she told her grandmother she was going to hitchhike to see some friends in Modesto, and her grandmother dropped her off to catch a ride, and she was last seen hitchhiking on the off-ramp of Highway 101. And 22-year-old Joaquin Cardona, who was a bartender in Santa Rosa, was arrested for sexual assault in October and made statements linking himself to the hitchhiker murders. However, he passed a polygraph test and was no longer considered a suspect, which I don't know why you would just randomly make statements linking yourself to it.
Yeah, yeah. And I couldn't find much else about this person, so I don't know if like there were other reasons that, he was kind of cleared, like maybe he had alibis for some of them, or maybe there was something
Yeah.
else, but like all I could find was like, oh, he passed the polygraph, and they're like, no, all right, you're good.
Wait, what was on that
So
polygraph? Are you being truthful in your statement linking yourself? Yes. Oh, he passed. No, just
so yeah,
kidding. Just kidding.
very
Not
odd.
damning him. Sorry, Joaquin.
And of course we do know that people, falsely confess to things for, a variety of reasons, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it could be one of those things. Also, you never know what happens in police interrogations
absolutely.
that
Yeah.
you get led to saying things
Hmm.
that are not
Yep,
true.
yep.
So, on December 28th, a nude, hog-tied body was discovered half submerged under a log by two teenagers boating down a creek. The location was difficult to reach, and it took detectives about 2 hours to reach the body. They were unsure if the killer had left her in that exact location or if her body was put in the creek and drifted to where it was found. Her autopsy showed that she had been strangled, and 2 weeks later, fingerprints identified her as 23-year-old Teresa Walsh. She was a single mother who'd been hitchhiking home to see her 2-year-old son for Christmas, and her mom had filed a missing persons report when Teresa never arrived home. She had left Northern California the week before to visit some friends in Malibu, and she left her friends on December 22nd to hitchhike back home to Garberville for Christmas. And investigators called in the FBI to analyze the rope that was used to bind Teresa, but they said it was too common to be able to trace. So by January of 1974, the reward money was up to $6,500, which is about $42,000 today. So a very good, substantial amount of money. But investigators weren't receiving much new information, and by the end of the year, no new bodies had been located. In December of 1978, 15-year-old Carrie Graham and 14-year-old Francine Trimble left Forestville, California, and told their friends they were going to hitchhike to Santa Rosa to attend a party. And they were last seen getting a ride at a gas station. Francine told her mom they were going Christmas shopping, and she filed a missing persons report when the girls never arrived home. Their remains were found 6 months later in a wooden area about 80 miles north of Santa Rosa, and the only evidence found with their bodies was one earring shaped like a bird, and Francine's sister was able to identify the earring because she'd given it to her as a present. In July of 1979, hikers discovered hog-tied skeletal remains in a duffel bag near where Lori's body was found in 1972. Investigators believe she was around 16 to 21 years old. She had red hair, was wearing hard contact lenses, and both of her arms were fractured. So it is believed that she would have died between probably 1973 and 1975 because soft contact lenses had taken over after 1975. So they're like, probably unlikely, like, if it was past 1975, she'd still be wearing hard
Hmm.
contact lens. Her remains are unidentified to this day, and based on the location they were found and the estimated year of death, they are assumed to be connected to the other victims. So the Santa Rosa hitchhiker murders seem to suddenly stop after 1978. There are possibly many more victims of this killer or killers, and people have suspected that the Zodiac killer, Ted Bundy, or the Hillside Stranglers, apparently that's a hard word for me to say. um, Too many S's, guys, too many S's.
That's a tough one.
Could be, it's a tough one. Could be responsible for these murders as well. All three were active on that side of the US around that time, and many have shifted their MOs as time went on. Investigators reviewed over 300 suspects, but none of them were seriously considered to be responsible, and no one ever got a good look at the driver of the vans, and no one ever found a location where the murders took place, only where their bodies were dumped. So it's kind of like nobody can identify them. No one can like really identify the van because how many vans are there out in the world?
Yeah.
Where did these murders take place? Like, there's no evidence besides like the bodies they're finding.
Which I'm wondering too, I'm like, is he like taking them, like, does he have this specific place that he's taking them to murder them, or like, is he doing it in the van? Like, it's just very eerie
Yeah.
when it's like, okay, it didn't happen like in these woods where they're found. Like, so where are they going? Like, where is he taking them, you
Yeah.
know?
Where did it happen?
Yeah.
Like, what's the time in between like being kidnapped, being murdered, being dumped? Like,
Yeah.
what is all of this? So one detective believed the killer was a utility worker or postal worker, like someone who knew the area very well, and there are a few other possible suspects who have been popular over the years. In the mid 1980s, the Sonoma County coroner indicated that the most likely suspect in these cases had already died. He believed he was a middle-aged married man who died in a car accident in the mid 1970s. Although he did not explicitly give a name, it was determined that he was referencing 41-year-old Frederick Monoloy. He died in a head-on car crash in the summer of 1976, which is around the time the murders abruptly stopped. He was also a creative writing teacher at Santa Rosa Junior College, and after Frederick died, a sadomasochist drawing of his former student, Kim Allen, was found in his possessions. Kim Allen was a victim of the Santa Rosa hitchhiker murderer, so kind of a big connection.
Yeah, a little bit. And being a teacher at the Santa Rosa Junior College, where at least two of the
Where,
women went to
yeah,
school. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that's that's not great. And if you're not connected, very unfortunate.
Yeah. But the fact that he died suddenly and they suddenly stopped around the same time,
Yeah,
I mean, because it was
yeah.
a pretty rapid succession there for a little bit that these
It was
bodies were
kind of a
being found.
lot, yeah,
Yeah.
like a lot happening, like a lot of people missing at the same time. Like the
Mm-hmm.
bodies maybe were found years later or whatever, but like, yeah. Frederick was also known to have an interest in violent pornography as well. So, not looking great. In 2022, police used DNA to link the 1996 unsolved murder of Michelle Marie Veal to Jack Alexander Boykin. So, Boykin raped Michelle, and she had multiple skull fractures and a broken neck. Her body was found on the side of the road. Michelle fought hard, and there was DNA underneath her fingernails, which led to Boykin's discovery. So, Boykin had previous charges for kidnapping with intent to commit rape, rape of a victim incapable of consent, rape by force or fear, mayhem, aggravated mayhem, 2 counts oral copulation with someone under the age of 14, false imprisonment, and attempted murder. That's a long list.
Just a few charges, you know.
Yeah, and had been convicted for all of those
Yeah.
in the what 90s. Like it's rare to get a conviction today on those
Mm-hmm.
charges.
Yeah.
So, I think what's really disturbing about this case, first, the murders. Second, how many terrible men
Right?
that we're talking about
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. That's like, oh, it could be this guy. Oh,
Scary.
well, nope, not this one. It was a different one or a
I mean,
different one.
he did like violent pornography and had a sadomasochist picture of his student, or it could be this guy who has 17 counts of rape, basically.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So obviously Boykin has a very violent background, and his parents also owned a home near Santa Rosa around the time of the killings. Investigators said he was being looked into as a suspect in the Santa Rosa hitchhiker murders, but we didn't find any additional information about this investigation, and Boykin died in prison in December of 2022. Sierra Barter thinks her deceased step-grandfather, Jim Mordecai, was responsible for these murders. She heard many stories from family members about him being a violent predator who abused women in the family, who had also been accused of assault by other young women. Again, terrible, terrible men.
So many
Um,
of them.
so many in this one area. And it's, I'm assuming, not isolated. Um, in his possessions, he had a jewelry box with mismatched earrings, and no one in the family knew who they belonged to. So again, if you kind of remember a lot of like missing earrings, the girl with the hole in her ear that they thought maybe something going on, so could possibly, you know, have a connection. Unfortunately, his family gave them away after his death, so there's no way to have them tested. HBO Max released a documentary with Sierra about Jim in 2024. He was a teacher who sexually assaulted many young girls, and this documentary tried to prove that he was a Santa Rosa hitchhiker murderer, but no hard evidence was presented. It's all kind of circumstantial since there's no testing, there's no DNA, there's no
Yeah,
nothing concrete.
I was going to watch this documentary and then I was like looking it up and like all the reviews were like, this was horrible. This was basically someone being like, oh, my grandfather was a horrible person in the same area. I bet it was him. And there's literally nothing concrete,
Yeah.
but it's just all speculation, which I mean, like, yeah, there's a time and place for speculation, but apparently it was like too many episodes of like, just like I saw one person was like, oh, like they said he loved to like drive around by himself at night and like that was a piece of quote unquote evidence. So
Yeah.
from what I read, it wasn't really worth the time, so I did not look into it. Everything kind of consensus was like this did not,
Yeah. It's like no.
uncover anything
If you
new.
if you want to go on a tinfoil hat thing, but
And apparently it wasn't even that good either. So it's not even like, oh, there was nothing like
yeah.
substantial,
It's
but
not even like fun.
yeah, exactly.
It's not even like the Sherry Papini one where I was like, oh, this is terrible, sure. And then it's like, well, I'm entertained at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
So perhaps one day new evidence or ancestral DNA will close these cases, but for now, the murders of at least 10 young women and girls remain unsolved. And that is the murders of Maureen Sterling, Yvonne Weber, Kim Allen, Jeanette Kamahili, Lori Kursa, Carolyn Davis, Teresa Walsh, Carrie Graham, Francine Trimble, and Jane Doe, who was the last woman found in the duffel bag.
So yeah, very sad and
Very
tragic ones.
sad.
Ones that I feel like are not talked about that often. I mean, this is the same, time frame as Bundy. Like this is, not the same area, but like the same side of the country. But these aren't talked about in the way, which I mean, obviously it's unsolved, so maybe that's part of the, you know, Bundy is Bundy, so people talk about like him and,
Yeah,
when you don't have the murderer to reference and learn about and talk about it, the victims get lost in that
get lost a
story.
little bit. Yeah, because I mean, you had so much. You had like Ted Bundy, the Green River Killer, Ed Kemper, like we were saying, like the Hillside Strangle, the Zodiac, like all those possible,
Yeah.
like there's so many things going on. It's like, unfortunately, these victims get lost because unfortunately, people do like focus on the killers a lot. And we've seen that a lot, that a lot of times the killer kind of gets all the attention and the victims. So now that we like don't have a definite killer, it's kind of,
Yeah.
are you thoroughly depressed yet? Because I
I know,
am.
right? So that being said, Courtney, what is your perk of the week?
How can you have a perk of the week when you're depressed? No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
So my perk of the week is that 2 weeks ago at this point, I got to go on vacation with my family to the beach, and it was just so nice. It's something that throughout this year I have just been looking forward to, of just sitting on the beach, relaxing, chilling, not having to do anything really besides read my book. It was extremely hot, like it has been here in Tennessee, and it was felt like I was in an oven at times, but it was still just so nice and relaxing and always nice to spend time with family and kind of all get to be in one place. And like my niece and nephew love it because they love coming out. And my niece was obsessed with Kevin, Kevy Boy. That's what she nicknamed
I
him.
mean,
She called him that for the rest of the time.
who is not obsessed with Kevin? I mean,
I mean, that's true. I mean, I get it. I get it, girl. She was very upset when she found out because she said, "Why do you guys wear rings?" And I said, "We're married." And she was like, "What?
she's like,
What?
I don't understand. Wait,
My Kevy Boy, not your Kevy Boy." She's like,
reminds me of the other day we were going in this furniture store and like Andrew got Millie out of the car and they were like waiting on me to like get Joanna out of the car and I guess this guy tried to like hold the door for them and Andrew was like, oh, like thanks, I'm waiting on my wife, I got it. And Millie's like, who's your wife? And it was so funny. Like she's like,
"Yeah.
what?
Wait, what?
Your
What does
wife?
that
What does that
mean?"
mean?
Yeah. Yeah, but we both had our rings on. She was like, "Why are you wearing rings?" Well, first off, because I can do whatever I want. Second off, I'm just kidding. But she was like, "What? What?" Um, yeah, but she loved her Kevy Boy, so it was fun. It was just a very good time. So
Yeah, that sounds like a good time. Nice and relaxing.
already missing it. Wish I was back there. But here we are back in the real world.
Always next
But
year to
yeah,
look
that
forward to.
yeah, always next year. But that is my perk of the week. Jacqueline, what is your perk of the week?
So my perk of the week is that after many years of reading ebooks on my phone, I finally purchased a Kindle. So I know everyone is so proud of me.
Woo! I took a sip of my drink, of course, so I couldn't woo at the appropriate time.
Courtney was very proud of me when I told her, so I'll give her that.
Yes.
But yeah, so I just finally I think okay, it's kind of silly, but the thing that really like drove me to get it is that like I want my daughters to like see me reading to like set that example of like the love
Mm-hmm.
of books and like a love of, reading and like reading is fun and like we enjoy reading and it's not like a chore and whatever. But I'm like when I'm reading on my phone, like how they know I'm not just like playing on my phone. Like
Scrolling or
yeah,
playing,
and I'm
yeah.
like I don't want them like and like I try not to be on my phone around them a lot anyway, but it's like when I am like oh like we're all relaxing and like you're playing, I'm gonna read my book. Like I want them to know that I'm reading my book and not playing on my phone. So that was a big part
Yeah.
of me getting it. And then I also am just tired of like holding my phone at night instead of like having something larger to hold.
Yeah.
And I
I feel like also it helps because like when I read on my phone and like notifications come in and all this and
yes.
you get distracted and it's like hard because then you're like, let me respond to that text and then let me open
Yep.
this notification and then my possibly I'm undiagnosed, maybe diagnosed by TikTok, ADHD brain, like can't take it
Yeah,
because I'm like reading and then I'm like, I gotta go here, I gotta go here, I gotta go there, I gotta go do this. So
exactly. Yeah, I've been able to like put my phone in another room and like just sit and read and I don't like have that temptation because I'm not like reading
yeah.
on the device that has all the things coming in that. So yes,
Yeah.
that is very true. It's easier on your eyes, so that's been nice. I also got a case that has like a kickstand so I can like prop it up on the arm of my couch and then I can sit there in my blanket and just turn the page
Sweet,
with my
sweet,
finger
sweet,
and it's
sweet.
it's so I'm enjoying
I
it. I'm
know.
having a good time.
You're gonna have to get you one of the little
I
clickers
know.
so you can just
The first night I was like, oh, I'm gonna get a clicker soon. Like,
yeah.
right now
I
it's
know. I
hot, so
need a
I
new
don't.
case and stuff, so
I like the one I got. I'll send you the link to it. I like it a lot. It's got
yeah.
the kickstand. It also has like the little like hand
Oh, nice. Like the little pop on it.
not the pop. It's like a strap. So it, like your hand like goes in the strap. I'm sure there's
Oh,
a word I'm not
nice.
thinking of, but it, like boop.
Yeah.
This is a
Yeah, because I've been wanting to get like a an extra like pop socket to
uh-huh.
put on there so I can like hold it versus like holding it, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
I'll send you,
Um,
well, I'll just send you the link, but I really like it because it has both, like, so I can prop it up with the kickstand and then also hold it with the
mhm.
thing, but then, like, it's flat, so I don't have to worry about, like, the pop kind
Yeah.
of getting in the way or whatever. But
Yeah. It's so nice. It's just nice. And also it connects to your phone. So like if
yes.
you're reading and then you're out and want to be reading on your phone. But I agree it's nice to be like put the phone away because there
Hmm.
is so much temptation on the phone and there's so much like brains hardwired with the phone for
Yes.
like shit that we're probably going to have to work through in therapy in
Right.
20 years and our kids are going to have to navigate. But it's just nice to have a device that's like separate. Like it's like,
Yeah.
oh, this is no.
Nothing is going to like notify me on this thing. Like I can
Yeah.
actually just sit and zone out. I've been trying really hard too lately, like kind of off topic, but not really. But I've been trying really hard lately to like not be on my phone as much in general. So like I'm trying to like
Hmm.
leave it in other rooms and like just not like have it on me. Because sometimes too, it's like they just come in so quick. Like I just get like so many different notifications for so many things that like
Yeah.
I can't focus on it anyway. So I'm like, just get it out of here. I don't even want it. Like,
I will say, this is going into a very long tangent, but I will say something that's really helped me is like you have do not disturb and sleep. You can
hmm
do like personal and
Yeah.
other stuff like that to silence notifications. So I've done that with work where
hmm
like I get off at like 4:30, so at like 5:30 like my personal goes on. I get no notifications from work
I
because I'm
need to
like
do that.
I don't need
Yeah.
to see that. Because I would be so tempted where I'm like, oh my God, someone just messaged me, let me respond or
hmm
whatever. And I would find myself working like all hours of
Yeah.
the afternoon basically, or on the weekend or whatever. So I turn personal on from like 5:30 till like 7 or
hmm
whatever time I go in. So it's like if I need to see it, I can see it, but
Yeah.
like you can do it for like whatever app you want. Like you can just be like, you know what? I don't want any TikTok notifications past this time or during the day or whatever, which I haven't done that, but mostly work to kind of,
Yeah.
especially working from home, you get so, you just start responding at all hours when
Yes.
you're like salary and
There's no
stuff. So just
separation.
being
Like
like,
it's just
yeah,
yeah.
it's one big thing. So like not even having like the Teams notifications on my phone has helped my like work-life balance where I'm like, it's not important.
Hmm.
It can wait till tomorrow.
That's
Nobody's
smart.
gonna die.
That's
I don't
smart.
work in healthcare. Nobody's gonna die.
Yeah. I need to do
So,
that. I think I've told you before and talked about it before, but I have put like the daily limits on like my social media app. So it's like once you reach like
yeah.
that much time, like it like shuts off for the day. So that's been really helpful too, because I'm like more like intentional with like when I use the social media apps, it's not like, oh, I'm just like mindlessly scrolling. It's like, okay, like if you want to use like your 45 minutes total for the
Hmm.
day between all combined apps, like how do you want to use it? Because if you're
Yeah.
just like not looking at anything like important, it's like, oh, I want to like check in on this person or like let me see like what, like just being more intentional and not just like mindlessly scrolling for, way
Hmm.
too much time. So that's been helpful. But I think I'm gonna do
I do
the
that on TikTok a lot, but
work one.
oh well. Sometimes you just gotta.
Yeah. Yeah. So All right, well, let us know your thoughts on this case. Do you know any other suspects that we did not mention that you think could be possible in this case? What are you reading on your Kindle? Do you like to read on your Kindle? What else do we?
Where did you go on
Yeah,
vacation?
where'd you go on vacation?
Um,
What are your phone hacks for like making your life
what's your favorite Real Housewives franchise? What should I watch after I
better?
get through 16 seasons of Beverly
Oh my
Hills?
gosh.
Which
Yeah.
will happen faster than you think when you turn it on while you're
Oh
working
man.
as background noise. So, they go by quick when you're
Yeah.
half watching. So, but that's why I love it because I can like do stuff on work and if I look up, I'm like, oh, they're fighting. Okay, back down up. You can just like catch back in
Yeah.
because nothing's ever that serious. I mean, obviously, like there's like overarching stories you kind of have to know, but like they get into fights every damn
Yeah,
month. Like we know what's gonna happen.
you can kind
You
of
can
watch and
skip this one.
not,
Yeah,
be super into
yeah.
it. Yeah. Yeah, well, we are
Yeah.
on all the places, all the things. They're, in the show notes. Just Google us. We come up, all the things.
Hmm.
Also rate us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and give us a thumbs up on YouTube, all the places where you can say that you like us. Also, if you don't like us, you could just not listen. So that's an
Hmm.
option. So
Yeah,
if you
that
have
that works too.
constructive feedback, absolutely send it our way. But if you
Yeah.
just don't like something about us or the format of our podcast, you could just stop listening. So just putting that out
Yeah.
there.
We're not even ranked, so there's a lot more out there. Um, but if you love us and you want more of us, there's patreon.com/caffeinated crimes, which funds our way to CrimeCon, kind of.
Yes.
Helps to at least. Um, and as I said, there's a new episode every month, but also there was just one on the history of the guillotine, so very exciting. Next month I think is pirates,
Yes.
modern day pirates, not
Yes.
just any pirates.
Pirates that are
So
currently still out there doing pirate things. So come learn all about that
doing
with us.
stealing that booty. Anyway,
It is not that
you
kind
can
of
sign up there. It's not that
Patreon.
kind of Patreon. This is not OnlyFans. Anyway, but if you want to do so, it would be greatly appreciated to go sign up. It's lowest $3 a month, ad-free episodes, just a lot of perks over there. Just go check it out, even if you don't sign up, just to see if you're interested. As always, linked in the show notes. But in the meantime, go have a cup of coffee.
And don't commit a crime.